You're listening to Solihull Radio.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much indeed for Rob Pettigrew hosting this from Thursfield, this round table intelligence forums. I'm going to ask Tony Elvin if he's happy to do it to chair.
Of course, yeah.
And before we start, let's go around the table and introduce who we are. Rob, as the host, you do have 4 or 5 minutes to talk about this, the firm, Thursfields, as you lead it. Should be very appropriate.
No, thank you, Harry. My name's, for those who don't know me, Rob Pettigrew. I'm from Thursfields, which is where we are today. We're at our offices here in Solihull. We are a full-service law firm. We have a number of branches. The main office is in Worcester. We cover a number of bases across the West Midlands. We've got an office in Birmingham. The major ones are Worcester, Birmingham, Halesowen, Kidderminster, and of course here in Solihull. Myself, my practice area is commercial property. We have a team of, there's 4 of us here in Solihull doing commercial property. Part of a wider team of about 8 or 9 of us. We also do corporate law, we do employment law. So we're moving towards, or we're trying to rebalance the firm. It was traditionally a private client firm, doing a lot of residential work, family law, but we're now rebalancing that to make it, looking towards a 50-50 split between corporate or commercial and private client. So a number of us have joined over the last, I've joined 2 years exactly this month since I've been at Thursfields. As I say, a number of us have joined over recent time to help build that structure, the corporate structure here. And it's going well. You know, there are challenges in the market. It's a difficult market at the moment, particularly on the commercial side and the residential side, even in an area like Solihull. But we are aware of the challenges and we are trying to rise towards those challenges. One of the reasons the firm moved to Solihull or opened an office in Solihull was recognising that this is like a thriving area. It is one of the growth. Turn that on. It is one of the growth areas around the whole country, not just in the West Midlands, but nationally. You know, if you look at if you look at say something like house prices, Solihull is one of those areas where prices continue to go up. Where in other areas they're flatlining, and it's one of those areas that people relocate to. Not just people out of Birmingham, but people as well out of London. I'm telling you guys a lot of what you know. You've got an airport up the road. You've got HS2 coming here. Some of you may have seen that headline today. I only caught the headline, but it was saying Solihull could become the next Beijing. Oh, yeah, it's really, it's so well centred in terms of the motorways. You've got the M42 at the bottom of the, 5 minutes from here. That'll take you north. It'll take you south. Once HS2's here, London will be about 30 minutes or so, I guess, from Birmingham Airport. So the potential for Solihull to grow is massive, and obviously we want to be here. We want to be a part of that. One of the things we look to do with sort of events such as we're at today is to encourage firms in Solihull to work together. It's not just obviously law firms or all the professional firms, accountancy firms, etc., but the whole business community. Because I think traditionally, particularly on bigger projects, people may have gravitated into Birmingham, say for legal services, because you've got some of the big national or international firms based up in Birmingham. But we are, as I say, attracting people who've worked for those firms out here to Solihull and to provide the same level of service, but obviously the cost base would be a lot less. So there you go, that's Thursfields.
Thank you very much. Do you know what I was going to do before we go around the room so that we don't kind of do a loop twice as we go around? I thought it'd be a good opportunity to say to you, tell us a bit about, you as a businessman within Thursfields. I working in Thursfields myself at Touchwood, working in Solihull myself at Touchwood. Mm-hmm. Thursfields are the best known solicitor, and you guys are really very much on the front foot. Mm-hmm. What's driving that, and how are you managing to put yourselves?
It is. So Thursfields 2 years ago. No, it's April 2016. Thursfields opened in Solihull, and obviously, when I guess a lot of you guys would be aware of the challenges of starting something, from base level and building it up. You have to kind of get the message out there to the market that we are here, and that's something we've actively tried or have been doing over the last couple of years. A number of ways of doing that. Obviously, as a private client, providing a good service, because people will tell other people, oh yeah, I use Thursfields. They bought my house, they sold my business, all of those different types of things. So providing a good service is the cornerstone to it. That is an essential. But again, on top of that, it's actually having a marketing policy. And we do have one. We have monthly meetings. The next one will be this Friday with the team here. So that's all of the lawyers. And we try to encourage other people who are non-lawyers as part of the team as well to join that meeting, just to talk about what we've been doing over the last 4 weeks, particularly in terms of events, BD events, what ones work for us and what ones don't. Because again, for some of us, the meetings that we would want to go to, the people who we want to meet, will be different to other colleagues. There'll be some colleagues who, if you're working with private clients, or if you're working, say, for example, in wills and estates area, then your market will be different to what my market is. So it's identifying for each other cross-selling opportunities in terms of, I went to, as an example, so I could say, I went to a meeting, say at the Tap and Tandor. There's one tomorrow, so I went to a meeting there. There are a number of local businesses there. I met somebody who's moving house. Okay, it's not something that I would do, but it's something one of my colleagues could assist them with. I met somebody else who's looking to bring new shareholders into his business. Again, it's not something I would do, but there's colleagues here who could, and he's putting those people together. So we obviously, it's a relatively small office here. I think it's about 15 to 20 of us, but it's growing all the time. But you need to take that opportunity at least monthly to all sit down together and share those ideas with each other. So we have that, so cross-selling to each other, making sure we are not missing opportunities. And then on top of that, it's the active marketing, whereby making sure we're getting that brand, that name out there into the marketplace so that everyone else who isn't coming through the door is aware that we're here and is aware of what we're providing. So we advertise in the local press. We write articles that the press will either pick up or will be published by Solihull Bid. They're great, or the Chamber. They have a daily feed. We hope people look at those. A variety of articles. Myself, I've done some Tony about, because I've got some experience in the retail sector, about the drivers in that area, the difficulties people are facing, or the challenges rather than difficulties, and trying to not just say that's one area, as I say, that I know or have worked in, rather than just saying, it's all really gloomy. It's, well, this is a situation, but these are your options. Have you thought about maybe subletting? Have you thought about sharing your premises with someone else? Does your license permit you to do that? Have you thought about maybe getting a concession in there, someone who can offer something slightly different but that will complement what you do? Have you spoken to your landlord about, where a lot of businesses are failing, have you spoken to your landlord about perhaps them becoming not a partner but taking or sharing part of the risk? So, because landlords don't want to lose tenants. You don't want to see a tenant fold up and go, particularly now it's difficult to get somebody else. So, just asking that question.
Do you find, Rob, that the other more established firms, and there's some names that obviously aren't too far from here, are they as active as you? I mean, are they picking up this sort of social media, getting in the press? Because I guess, again, knowing Solihull not that well, but you've got a lot of, shall we say, old money, established families, established people in this area, which obviously, and I completely agree with you, I think this, and we've had this conversation before about amongst IF in Birmingham and in Solihull, this area, the West Midlands, is about to go boom, as HS2 and all these other things happen, including the Commonwealth Games. But are you sort of leading that here, or are the others? Yeah.
We'd like to think we are, but the competition is the competition is there. We need to try and make sure that we're at the same level at least, or pushing harder than everybody else. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for us all. And that's one of the things that we will challenge each other with here, in terms of because it will only succeed if everybody is pushing, and not only in the same direction, but is pushing equally hard. And people here, the people who've joined Thursfields, thankfully, recruitment's key. I think we all know that in all our businesses. They need to buy into that, and they need to kind of be able to make that little bit of extra commitment in terms of what they're prepared to do when the office is closed at 5:30. Because it's lovely to go home, but if you want to be successful and grow the business, you need to invest that additional time. Yeah.
So in my first week at Touchwood, you got in touch and said, you fancy going for a coffee? So you'd be the first local business person to get in touch with me and say, how did that come about? How did you even know I was there already?
I probably saw that on the Chamber. I probably saw that, Tony, on the Chamber. And I saw that you were taking over. I read a little bit about yourself. and obviously we wanted to meet you and just to let you know that we are here. Yeah. And I don't know if you know, but something that's good for us, Yakanori, who are moving into Touchwood, will be acting for them because we've acted for them before. Yeah. So it's that, and that will be great for us. So when because this is a Japanese restaurant who I don't think it's not confidential, is it? They'll be opening hopefully relatively soon in Touchwood, taking quite a big premises, I think, as well, aren't they? Quite a big unit, and that's something that obviously we would do the legal work for them. But again, if we to help us succeed at that point where the lease is finished, we've registered it, it's all done, client's happy, he's moved in, etc. There's an opportunity there for Thursfields to take a photograph outside the restaurant when it's opened, shake hands with the guy. I know him now, I've met him a couple of times, shake his hand.
Character, isn't
he? Yeah, he really is, isn't he? Yeah. And hopefully he'll say something kind about us. And that's the sort of article then that can go in the local press and other people will see it. So it's kind of recognising and being aware of those opportunities and making sure that everyone in the team is as well. Because, as you're saying, every firm is doing it, so we need to do it that little bit more and push it that little bit harder. That's part of the things. We worked with Jeff before as well on the radio. That was great for the firm because I know other firms are knocking on your door, weren't they, Jeff?
Well,
yeah.
Now, to be honest, they're still knocking on the door.
I'm sure they are. Yeah. Why wouldn't they be? You would expect them to. Yeah.
And so, how much have things changed for you in your role, whether it was with Thursfields or previously, in how you need to operate? What you need to do differently in this current business climate?
Well, where I was before, I was at Pinsent Masons before, which is a bigger firm, and I was there for 13 years. And there, the work tended to come in a little bit more. They work on bigger projects. A lot of the work, obviously I was in the office in Birmingham, but a lot of the projects there are generated out of London. So they would be, and we worked on HS2 for a while whilst I was there. And that isn't something that, I don't have that level of contacts that are going to bring in a client such as HS2 to deliver a project like that. This firm doesn't operate on that scale, but Pinsent's did. And so I worked on a segment of that, doing that kind of work. So, but here, as I say, it's a different market, it's a different field that we're playing in. The clients are of, again, as we mentioned before, there's a lot of wealth here. There's a lot of work that is available, but the scales are different. The projects aren't, we wouldn't work on a project of that size. Another one I worked on, say, at Pinsent's, we acted for John Lewis Waitrose. So the Waitrose over there, I did the legal work on that one that was 5-6 years ago, maybe even longer, when Waitrose were first approached by the developer saying, I don't know how that all starts, but we had them as a client at Pinsent's, and it was, we're building a store here. Will you do the legal work for us? And that project took about 5 years. Those things take a long time. And again, for a firm such as Thursfields, we wouldn't at the moment have, I'd say the expertise, but we probably wouldn't have the manpower to be able to manage a project on that scale, because those things are huge. And you're looking at a really long time period, from when you sign a project like that for a firm like Pinsent's. You could start it in, say, 2010. It wouldn't finish till 2014. And when you have bigger clients, they don't want to pay until it's done. So you're carrying quite a lot of risk, for quite a long time.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
So tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Bonnie from Morgan Parts Recruitment. We are based in Hockley Heath, so in Solihull, and you just said, Solihull is a very supportive network for businesses. I think there's nearly 900 businesses in Solihull, so it's got quite a good community feel to it. So we do a lot of business in Solihull. The difference with us is that we're recruiters with no commission and no targets. I don't know how much you know about recruitment, but it's all based on recommendation, and all my work since I've been in recruitment has been on recommendation. If I do a good job for you, would you recommend me? And that's what we do. Mm-hmm. We go from a temp up to senior manager level.
Okay. How long have you had that policy in place where you...
Since we started the business.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I've been in recruitment a long time, so previous to that I was at an agency, so targets, commission, every single hour something's happening, and you accountable every minute. So when we started the business 5 years ago, we said, let's not do that, because that's not the right thing to do. It's about the candidate and the client. It's not what's best for me. So, for instance, in recruitment, say if I've got your CV, Tony, put you over here and get 20%, I put you over here and get 10%. Where am I going to put you? Over there. But that may not be the right role for you. That may be the better one for you. So take that away, it makes it about you and not about me. And that's the difference. And that's what we built it up from. So.
And has that been a raw away success right from the beginning? Or
It has. To be honest, it was more luck than judgment. And then the people that come in are all account managers. So we've got 7 staff. And they're all account managed. So because there's no... People leave recruitment because of the targets and the figures and someone poking them in the back. And that's why they leave. So people we've got have been with us and stayed with us. So, yeah.
And how much have you seen the industry change, whilst you've...
From way back when I started.
Well,
We had little papers and little cards when I started. Microfiche now. That's how old I am. It has changed. Everything's online. Everything is online. And... sometimes people don't want to talk to each other, which I still talk to people. So it's all email, it's all social media, as opposed to meeting face to face. But we insist to meet face to face to all our candidates and all our clients. If clients don't want to meet us, then we're not going to work with them. We need to find out what the team's like, and what the culture's like of the business first. Yeah. And
have you always worked in recruitment?
No. Way back, I used to work for Vodafone. For many years, I was a manager with 120 temps and 60 full-time staff. So, big job, great company. But then I had the other side of it. So we dealt with agencies, and some of them were quite shocking. So when I came into recruitment, I was quite old coming into recruitment. I had a different sort of thought process. I'd been the other side. I'd knew the what had happened and what could go wrong and what did go wrong. So I thought I could do it differently.
That's quite healthy, isn't it, to come into a profession to have that experience outside and bringing it. It's like, people going into teaching later in life. You bring something different to it.
It was quite hard, actually. It took me 2 years to get into recruitment once I'd realised what I wanted to do, because I had no experience. Even though I had a vast amount of experience, I had no experience with recruitment. It took me about 2 years of stalking someone to think, give me an opportunity, because I think I want to do this. This is what fits me. It's exactly what fits me. So I do it for nothing, to be honest. I do it for nothing all the time. My partner's like, for God's sake, it's like someone's engagement party. And I'm going, so what's the problem? Some careers advice.
They do say that's like future working. People, that traditional model where someone gets to 20, goes into, be it law or accountancy or
insurance,
dentistry, insurance, whatever. That I think in the generation who are coming through now, it's just not what they want to do. That it will be, you might have one, they're likely to have 2 or even 3 careers.
Yeah, things are changing, and things have changed since I've been in recruitment. That and with the ageing population, be more
people working longer.
Yeah, people working longer. So companies that are open to flexible working, and we'll have a better workforce, because that's eventually we'll have a massive gap in the middle. So yeah, companies.
How do employers take the ageing population? Are they open to people, older people?
I think it depends on the person, and I think it's on the company and how innovative they are. Really, that it's about that. I have people still discriminate for the stupidest of things. You'd be amazed, really. That's still in the workplace, and I think, well, if someone discriminates for me for my age, why would I want to work for them? Yeah, but I'm dealing with people's feelings on a daily basis, and people saying, "Oh, do you think I'm too old?" No, don't be so ridiculous. But it's what people think in their head. Absolutely not at all. If anything, I think that discrimination is more someone who's older than they are for younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And personally, I think any workforce needs to have a real balance of ages.
Absolutely.
The different age groups bring sometimes the naivety of somebody young. It gives a bit of gives a bit of something else to the team, but you still need that experience, don't you?
Absolutely.
You need the people that have already learnt the hard way on a few things,
exactly,
and that blend, and not just age, but background and different views. If
I look back on my career and my life and the teams that I've worked with, the people, and I've worked with some great people. The best teams I've worked for have been different ages, different sexes, different cultures, because if you have one of the same demographic, whatever that demographic would be, that can then cause, I think, cause HR issues. If you have all different ages, different sexes, different cultures, it's a different sort of company, and you get different people then having their sort of strengths.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, my name's Tony Elvin. I'm general manager of a shopping centre, but I've only been doing that for 18 months. Before that, I managed hotels for 10 or so years, and then before that, health clubs for about 8 years, and before that, family entertainment centres that have bowling or maybe a nightclub on the side, or Quasar or American Pool or whatever. So, but all of those jobs have been the key thrust of those roles, because each one of them has been managing between 50 to 120 people. The key thrust of those roles has been people, and probably what I've learned as I've got older and progressed through each of those arenas. Whether it's customers, whether it's your team, whether it's now it's tenants, which are a bit like my gym members. I find certain traits that are transferable. The people that are there within that business every day give you a very different snapshot on what the place is like compared to a visitor, or whether they were coming having a game of bowling, or going to the spa once every 3 months in a health club, or going into a hotel every couple of months. If you've got someone like a gym member or a tenant within your building, they see different things and they talk to you about different things. But ultimately, I guess that's what makes the job so interesting is the people dynamic, and it's been less about managing people as I've got older and more about kind of putting a goal in front of people and helping them get there, rather than you trying to micromanage every. If you've got 70 people, you can't hope to tell them all what to do and make sure they're all doing what you want them to do. So you've got to kind of paint a picture at the end and almost let them find their own way there, and sort of nudge them if they go too far to the left or the right, because only that way, if you've got really talented people, can you actually achieve something really special. And actually that picture of where you wanted to go might look a little bit different by the time you get there, but that's because you've got 70 people all trying to putting their own ideas forward on how to get there. So, and I think any really successful business gives those people that autonomy to be able to make their own decisions, come up with their own ideas. I'd never profess to be the cleverest person in any room, but I enjoy collaborating. I enjoy people's company, and I think that's what's made the businesses that I work with successful, by being the opposite of a dictator and maybe being a liberator, if you like, and letting people get stuck in and have a go themselves.
What do you know now that you wished you'd known when you started off managing 50 or 100 people?
It is probably that, and that I felt a pressure as I remember my first general manager's job, and worked really hard in the interview, a couple of interviews, presentation, to convince my directors that I was ready to move from being a deputy manager to a general manager. Walked in on the first day, shook hands with everybody, said hello, introduced myself to everybody, went into my office, shut the office door and went, bloody hell, what do I do now? I probably, rattled about in the office for a little bit, then went for another walk around, feeling a little bit like I was on stage and everyone was looking at me and what is he going to tell us that we need to do? That was probably the weirdest point, that first ever general management role. But then you kind of, things start coming to you, and then you remember why you were given the job, because you're already the number two, and actually you need to start leading and trying to paint that picture at the end of the hall that you need to get to. So mistakes were always around people management and trying to tell people specifically what to do, I think, and becoming a bit more relaxed over the years about that, and just trying to build relationships and make people feel good about themselves so that they want to do a good job for you. So that's probably been the biggest lesson. Well, also I had a fortunate/unfortunate incident at the age of 21 where I came down with leukemia. So I was off work for 18 months, and that was pretty life-changing. So I think I would always have been a good employee, but it made me more ambitious to achieve something at work rather than just go to work in order to have some money to have a good time outside of work. So that there was a big it made me grow up quite quickly, but also value just waking up every morning. So I think that gave me a bit of an unfair advantage in terms of enthusiasm for just, enjoying every day, not just outside of work.
Absolutely, and with the current environment, that's an opportunity in some respects to perform, because it's so incredibly challenging in the retail environment which you're working in. How do you feel about that?
I don't suppose if retail wasn't challenged, they wouldn't have asked a hotel manager to go and run a shopping centre.
Oh, that's part of that.
So I've felt at times, why did I not make this change sooner? Because it's been so life-changing in terms of, the quality of life running Touchwood compared to running any hotel, really. And I think that's changing within hospitality. The hours that are required will improve. It's probably not improved for the managers yet, but it's improving for team members all the time. But yeah, I would never have had that opportunity. I didn't have the opportunity to stop working 11 and 12 hours a day sooner. So now I have, and I understand what I can bring to Touchwood, and they're already experts there on facilities management, on actually the operation of a shopping centre. So I needed to understand what those KPIs are, what people are supposed to be doing, and what doing a good job looks like, and make sure that still happens. But actually, I've got managers in place that manage that. I just need to make sure they're doing it. And what I've been able to hopefully bring to Touchwood is bringing that hospitality side into Touchwood. Over the last 12 months, we've increased every metric on our market research, for whether it's cleanliness, customer service, car park experience, silly things like that, has all improved from our market research that we've done, and tenancy is up, and we've got a number of new tenants coming in. We could be fully let this year.
That's great.
So it's which is it's not the normal retail story that you're hearing, but you can't rely on the big chains anymore. You see that the policy was only go with the big chains because they won't let you down. Even if they're not making a profit, they can still pay the bills. But that's not the case. Anyone can go in. In fact, the big chains are more likely to go into CVA. So to work with the likes of Ali Yakanori to come in, who's independent, local, personally going to be vested in making it a success. So therefore, the experience is going to be great. The quality of the product is going to be great. Because it's his own money. That's far safer bet.
The bigger stores, say you look at M&S or House of Fraser, it's that juggernaut, isn't it, or that huge ship. You try turning that around. It's so difficult. Whereas if you've got a smaller operator, they can be more nimble, they're more flexible, they can react quicker. Because it's all about reacting, isn't it? Things on the high street, obviously Tony's the expert here on that, but things are changing incredibly quickly, massively quickly. And if retailers don't, if you're behind and you're not, you've got to run to keep up, haven't you? Almost sprint to keep. And if the gap gets too big, you're just not going to pull it back. And
there's certainly new distribution channels, or channels for them to go down, isn't there? The high street, online, all sorts of things now that those that haven't sort of really engaged with the online side of things, especially, they're the ones that are obviously in the news quite a lot. But one of the questions I was going to ask is that, and you touched on it then, is that obviously the Touchwood experience, and this is the word that we've used a lot, isn't it? The experience. You've got some major chains in there, as well as those independent owners of businesses. That must be quite interesting, quite much more fun. To see the two working together.
We need that balance. I people watch quite a bit in Touchwood to try and, particularly when you've got new tenants and you're watching people's shopping or dining behaviour, and you've got Jamaica, which is an independent Jamaican restaurant. Everything's freshly cooked and all the rest of it. You've got trusted brands in there. When I say trusted brands, like Wagamama's and Nando's. Now Jamaica and Nando's are both selling chicken. And you watch people come up the escalator, they go and have a look in Jamaica, they hover about a bit, and then probably 2 out of 3 will still go to Nando's because what they know, it's what they trust. But Jamaica's still busy. It is a smaller restaurant. They're doing good things in there, and that 1 in 3 are going in and they're trying it for the first time. So eventually people will go, they will start, Jamaica are doing really well. Ashes is doing fantastically well. It's packed every evening. But you do still, people look at all the menus and they probably go with what they know, but they will try something. When they see Jamaica still there next time, and you know, they'll get busier and busier. So, yeah, it's interesting watching that. And those trusted brands, people need to know that there's something that they can rely on when they go. They know that they like Wagamama's. They know what dish they're going to order, probably. It was the same one they ordered last time. And there is something, you know, comforting in that.
Those brands do suck in the footfall, don't they? Because people do come in because they're there.
Touchwood's got the name, and people, you know, you can go, say we've got an office in Worcester. People in Worcester come up to Touchwood.
Yeah.
You know, it's got that pull. But even Touchwood, which is, you know, one of the best shopping centres you'll find, that needs to work, doesn't it, with like wider Solihull? Like I don't know, Tony, if you've got anything to do with the jazz festival that's on this weekend.
Through the bid, yeah.
Because again, I was overhearing the conversations that people were having this morning. You know, people making their tea and they're standing around, and people are looking forward to it. People remember it from last year. Yeah. And there's a couple of people tomorrow going to go over after work and have a drink. And it's not the sort of, or no, Friday they're on about, and it's not the well, it's the sort of thing it's going to get people out there, isn't it? And people will stay around, they'll have a drink, they might have something to eat, they might walk into Touchwood, but all that working together, isn't it, with all the different outlets there, you know, it needs to, doesn't it? It needs to be a collaborative approach.
But this is where the active bids, successful bids, I mean, they can be so powerful. Because they come up with these events and they bind everybody together, like you're saying, like Bonnie was saying, you know, 900 businesses in Solihull. If you have those events where people can really engage and celebrate brand Solihull, you know, it's a great place to come. I live in Drayton Bassett near Tamworth, and if we go shopping, we tend to come here because it's easier, quieter. All the brands are here. It's a far less stressful experience. But you can just relax in Solihull. In Birmingham, it's brilliant. Don't get me wrong, I love Birmingham. And it's, if you want to go there, great, and I do enjoy going there. But if you want to have a relaxed shopping experience, this is where we come.
Yeah. You can drive and park here. You can't drive and get into Birmingham.
No.
Well, soon you'll be...
Congestion charge will be...
I was about to say, yeah.
Well,
Congestion charge and all those sort of things, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. So...
Yeah, Martin Hall, head of office for the Birmingham office of an insurance broker called Lockyer's Commercial. Been to a few of these events. Our sort of specialism is in the leisure, entertainment, sports sector, but also working with the professions and some corporate and commercial work as well. Interesting that Bonnie was talking about the sort of relationships with clients. Meeting them and obviously having those sort of discussions. We're very much the same. Similar, I suppose this is a theme around the professional services. Is this income stream? Is it a commission or is it a fee? Obviously commissions when it comes to insurance and other sort of services are and can be kept quite sort of low key. We prefer to be very open and have a fee earning arrangement with most of our clients, because it is that issue around, well, do you get more commission over here than over there, when it should always be, and it always has been, about what's best for the client. And that's an environment in insurance broking terms which has been evolving for some time. As a business, we're lucky enough to sort of try and put ourselves into an area of insurance, and I suppose this is down to premium spend. We do the corporate end of things, and therefore premiums are a lot larger, and therefore you can go down a fee route rather than having sort of pilot high, sell it cheap type of arrangements. And of course, in insurance terms, the way that insurance has sort of evolved, certainly in the sort of more personal area, you've got the likes of Compare the Market, etc., the comparison sites. So that's sort of home insurance, motor insurance, travel, pet, even some types of life assurance, etc., can be done, and the buying public, you know, our clients are out there, and they prefer to do it that way. When it comes to a more sort of corporate business type insurance, yes, you can go on and sort of see what's around, but that face-to-face service, that understanding of risk, is key to us. And we are very much like, you know, Bonnie mentioned, if a client doesn't want to engage with us face-to-face, then they're probably not the sort of client that we want. Not just because maybe we won't sort of get on and they won't understand us, but unless you meet someone, you don't really understand what they need. getting into insurance was, like most people say, not a career choice. Although our profession, we like to look at it that way, we are trying our best to attract those graduates and those people coming through education. And yeah, we're up against the law, we're up against accountancy, we're up against various other things. So we're trying to make insurance, as it is, a really interesting, very diverse area. Myself, I was playing golf one day, and a friend of mine, his father knew a guy that ran an insurance broker. I wasn't doing terribly well in the sixth form at the time, and he said to me as I was playing golf, he said, "I hear it's not going too well." And I said, "Oh, no, just tee it up and, let's play golf. I'm going to take a fiver off you." This was in 1987. By the end of that golf game, I'd got a job in an insurance broker that was just round the corner from where I lived with this guy. And licking stamps, writing cover notes, opening post, and doing all sorts of sort of admin stuff. But it sparked in me, I really enjoyed the client contact, mainly that client contact, and really understanding business, etc. So, yes, been in insurance since I was 17, and enjoyed every minute of it.
And your leisure now, focusing on
focusing on the leisure, entertainments and sports market, which in itself is quite diverse. And again, we do focus in the sort of what we call brown sign sites. So we'll all see brown signs on the motorways, etc. Now there's about 3,300 of those signs around the country, and to actually get a brown sign, whether it's a venue or a site, an attraction, whatever it is, you have to demonstrate that you have at least 100,000 people going across your threshold each year. And that gets you the form, that gets you then talking to the highways agency, and then you start sort of having that conversation. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some brown signs that are pointing to a field in Wiltshire where a Roman soldier once stood. From an insurance perspective, that's not a great big risk. So we don't really sort of go at those because they tend to be part of maybe English heritage or local authority. But when you're talking about hotels, when you're talking about museums, theatres, theme parks, zoos, stadiums, these sort of things, that's when you get into a sort of a more in-depth conversation around risk and what those types of clients need when it comes to advice. So that part is rather diverse. Prior to that, I did 15 years with the professional sector, so working with solicitors and accountants, property people, architects, and they, because of the nature of what they do, they are giving advice and charging a fee, so they obviously need what we call professional indemnity insurance. So I did a lot of work with the professional firms over the years, very much around the contractual side of things, which lends itself rather nicely to what I do, because contracts are all over the place, whether it's construction, whether it's property, whether it's getting rid of parts of businesses, looking to develop other parts of businesses, especially in the leisure sector, where if you have an attraction or a farm or a theme park, you don't want them to come, or these businesses are trying to get more of people coming on a Friday night and going home on a Sunday morning. So it's expanding lodges, building hotels, looking to try and create almost like a resort feel of what they have. And there's lots of that going on. And it's been going on for some time. It's not just a reaction to, as many people believe, a fabulous summer that we had last year, which of course we did. But lots of businesses have been looking and trying to sort of develop their product to capture that staycation, which, again, not bringing it back to the whole Brexit issue, but there is a marked difference to people's travel patterns, with the way that they're looking at what they do, where they're spending money and when they spend their money. So that market itself is extremely interesting. But Birmingham, very vibrant insurance market, lots of the big names there, plenty of competition, but as I've said before, there's plenty of clients to go around. Future for us is very much, you have the huge leviathans of insurance, names like Aon and Marsh and Lockton, massive, and do a fabulous job. Further down in the sort of the ranks, if you like, of insurance broking, it's about being niche. It's about having something that you can really focus on, advise from a position of strength because you live it and breathe it with your clients, and that's where we are.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, moving to the world of copywriting.
Where to start? Right, I'm Tom O'Brien. My company's Tom Wrote It. I do copywriting for all kinds of sectors. My favourite thing to do is restaurants, food, hospitality, luxury, but also I do a lot of other sectors like recruitment, health and safety is quite fun because there are only a few ways you can spin ISO 9001 to make it exciting to the clients. But what I'm doing now is partnering with other people because I'm aware in the future there's a lot more videos, a lot more podcasts on people's site. So I've partnered with some great graphic designers that work with a load of blue chips, and also doing interactive AI blogs where you sort of take a point that you like and it says, are you interested in this, yes or no, and then you can find out more information about that area, or you can watch a video or a testimonial, and it sort of the questions lead the customer to what the client wants effectively, and then the information goes back into the CRM so you can send out the personalised marketing emails that really focus and drill down on what people want.
It's interesting that you as you say, Tom wrote it. You do copywriting, create that sort of interest. But technology, therefore, is really come to the fore with you.
This was it. So I thought, okay, I'm good with words, but I need to find a numbers person. I need to find a data guy effectively who I can team with in the design. And and I met Tony a couple of months ago, and he introduced me to Harry, and Harry said, would you like to come to the city once every couple of weeks for events?
So great.
Yeah.
You've been a great supporter, and I think you met your ladies that you collaborate with in Leeds.
Yeah, through the forums, and in fact the AI things through the forums. So it's basically just taking what I do and maximising the value that I'm already adding to people and taking so I can go higher and pitch to more. Because in the last year I've grown the business about 100% in revenue, no debt, made a profit first year, so that's all good.
Perhaps we could expect to see a Tom Wrote It blog on the IF website.
You should.
Yeah.
No, there's an idea.
Talk to me after.
Yeah.
Talk to me
And
after.
has that come from recommendations?
Yeah.
Again, word of mouth, demonstrating your worth to somebody else, and then somebody else recommending you. Yeah.
And trying different things.
There's a lot of value in that.
There's sort of a lot of marketing people did things on retainers, but clients weren't really liking retainers because it was another thing that was coming out of their wage that they could have paid themselves. So I found a way to sort of do bulk orders, so people were buying it quarterly or every few months. They weren't having to do that, and that was quite popular.
Yeah.
So it's just
Thank you very much. Well, moving to the world of social media and media in general.
Okay, I'm Rich from Rich Creative Media. I manage the social media for Touchwood. That's my number one client, who I love, of course. As well as that,
opinions can be shared.
As well as that, I also do graphic design. So I work with a lot of small businesses who are starting up, creating their logo, and then running with that to all their marketing needs. It's really enjoyable to actually be with someone at the beginning at the beginning of their journey, and actually be there for the excitement that they're in, and watch it grow. And I think I'm saying that I'm fairly new myself. I've already been in business since late February, so I think also meeting these people, I'm learning off them as well as helping them. So I think through networking, I've actually met an awful lot of people who I'm finding I can connect them people with these small businesses as well, and actually say, oh, I'll tell you to speak to. Go and speak to the Village Hotel as a work hub with the V-Works, things like that, and it's been really helpful.
How do they find you, Rich? If obviously new startups.
Okay.
Looking, you've got a very high presence as a website.
Well,
how do they come to you? Are they recommended?
It's all recommendation, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got a website now. There's not much on there. But social media, I put a few posts out every few days. But mainly, it's just through recommendation and word of mouth. I think, as we all said, people do business with people. And you can't just be at home hiding behind, a logo and behind a website. You've got to go out and meet people and shake their hands and have a chat and have a coffee or a beer, and then get to know these people and find out what they need.
Of course, you've moved from being an employee to starting up your own business relatively recently as well, right?
Yeah, that's it. I was at a marketing agency for 12 years, and I was a graphic designer behind a Mac constantly, and then an opportunity came up on the account management side to actually move to account management, and I started doing that just to help out to start with. And I just really enjoyed being out of the office and actually meeting people, talking to them, and thought, you know what, I want to do more of this. This is what I want to do. I want to be out, not just given work to do and then do it. So just made that leap, and yeah, it's been great. Enjoying it.
We really appreciate the personal attention you give to our account, which is why we wanted to continue working with you when you went out on your own. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Thank you.
Welcome. And then to radio.
That's right. A slightly different form of mixed media. I'm Jeff, and I own and run Solihull Radio, an online digital station for our local community, our local area. And up until a few weeks ago, I was a secondary school teacher. And I've been a secondary school teacher for 21 years. And I now own a radio station, which is incredibly daunting. But with support from Touchwood and other partners, the bid, for instance, Thursfield's coming in and guiding me on the legal side of things. Thanks, Rob. I've managed to start what I think is a really good idea locally that is now beginning to pick up some more momentum, and I think we've probably gone over the top of the hill. Things that I've learned are, like you said, Richard, people work with people, and it is all about people management and understanding, what we are giving back to the wider community. I'm more than happy to work with all the people in our community to help them move forwards and get their messages across and enable them to succeed. So what I've kind of missed out on a little bit is realising that it's a job of work, and I still have to balance the two. And I'm learning those skills. I've played the piano for the last 20 years, and I've not learnt those skills very much. I'm all for helping people rather than the bottom line at the end of the day. But the station-wise, I absolutely cannot believe the support that I've got from the local community, the local businesses, and I'm not too worried about content, because content seems to be knocking at my door. And people are emailing in and getting involved and feeling part of the station. So, like I said, with Tony's support and working with people like Richard on detail, which I'm not very good at. I'm good at painting the final picture, but I need people with skill sets that can go, yeah, but what about this? What about this? So I am now switched on enough to work with others.
What do you make about those traditional forms of communication, whether it's writing, radio? It's really interesting in this modern world of huge change. Those staples are ranked very highly.
Absolutely. I think radio is, well, I would, wouldn't I? But I think radio is an amazing medium to get personal information across. You know, Terry Wogan said it in his exit speech, didn't he? What's that, Terry Wogan? Being allowed into somebody's ear that's the most important thing, isn't it? People are giving you their time, listening to what you have to say, and then they can react and interact, which is fine. But it's a very personal thing. I speak to one person when the mic is open, not, you know, hundreds or thousands of people that are connected. So I really do think radio is going to be the medium that brings podcasting and on-demand servicing back to business and information and things like that, because businesses need to be using audio marketing.
I think you're right. I mean, the podcast thing,
yeah,
is obviously that's a fairly modern, latest thing. You've got to listen to it. So what do? You know, you're in the car. You can play it through your phone. You're at home. You're on a train. You can just plug yourself in. I mean, I know there's arguments about everyone sitting there with earphones in and no one's interacting. They are, but if you want to get information and you want it in a form that is distilled to the point, you get your podcast, bang, it's going in there. That's content that you guys put out.
We create content, we record content and produce it in the studio within the centre of Solihull Town Centre. So, in terms of parking to get people into the studio, it's pretty straight ahead. We've got 900 businesses in our area that now are thinking, well, I've got a message that my business is working on. They're seeing fall away from social media platforms in terms of what's it called? ROI, the return that they get for putting that boosted post out. It's not an organic reach anymore, is it, with the algorithm? So they're not seeing that return, whereas they could put the pod out. It's there for everyone to share and talk about, and then that becomes the social media content. So rather than having to create that GIF file or the video file or anything like that, it's a discussion, and people buy into that discussion or not.
And there's an accessibility to it as well, isn't there, for the wider public. If you look at, say, podcasts, I bet your average 15-year-old could probably would know how to make and put a podcast out on the internet.
But there's a difference between featured content podcasting, I think, that is targeted for the legal sector or the insurance sector, or we have the food and drink podcasts, so we do restaurant review. It's really quite detailed, and like Tom was saying, we can take this back and work out what time they're downloading it, what platform they're downloading it on, how many people are staying to listen to the whole pod, rather than, you probably know yourself, Tom, 22 minutes is the ideal podcast. Right. Yeah.
And do people lose their intentions about
and it's just the level of detail. Like you were saying, if you've got that condensed information that you're getting in your time, your schedule, so you're not waiting until 8 o'clock on a Sunday to watch Top Gear. You can watch Top Gear whenever you want. And that is where people are going now, isn't it?
And that's the art of it, isn't it? Is to be intelligent enough to, as you say, find out when they're looking, what they want, when they want it, when they're doing it. 22 minutes sounds about right. The average sort of commute, let's say. Plug in, away you go.
That's it, isn't it?
I do love listening to the radio. I do love listening to podcasts. And as you say, when you search and you want something, it's there. And it's the immediacy of, isn't it? It's the convenience of it, which is and then you've got to obviously grasp it and use it as a business. Trying to put something in insurance on a podcast. There's loads of them about. I haven't really heard many that have maybe go, wow.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think your 15-year-old analogy is good because that 15-year-old is going to create content for 15-year-olds, and it will be, did you hear my pod that I did about school or whatnot? And it's different horses for courses, isn't it? And I think audio marketing might be the next level on from taking Tom's video idea, and his AI idea is brilliant. I think that's something that I hadn't even thought of, that level of interaction. But yeah,
have a chat with him later.
Yeah, I might do actually.
I've met the ladies. They're quite dynamic.
Right.
Tom would know.
Thank you.
We're very grateful to have access to podcast intelligence forums. Thank you very much indeed, and also for photography. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm Steve Evans, and my company is called 7 Star Photography. The way I came to it, we had a discussion when I first came in, and Harry asked me how did I get into it, and it was more or less a midlife crisis decision, you might say, because I was an accountant for 33 years and I was never in love with it. Got less and less interested in it, and eventually I went home and said to my wife, I'm the right age for midlife crisis, I'm entitled to have one, I'm going to have one. And I said it'll be one of 3 things. I said it'll either be I'll get a motorbike, I'll start chasing young women, or I'll change my job. Well, I changed my job, didn't I? So I changed my job, which is great because it means I've still got motorbikes and young women to look forward to. So that was 15 years ago, 17 years ago when we had the conversation. And then I started hunting around and thought, right, what can I do that's different, and think might be more interesting. And I came across the opportunity to take on a franchise to do schools photography. And I thought, people say my photographs are not bad. I wonder if I could make a living out of it. And I'd never sold a photo in my life. There's lots of people who do full-time jobs and they'll do a wedding or party at the weekend. I'd never done that at all. So I just threw up this salaried job, which I'd been in for 16 years with the one company. I'd always been an employee. And all of a sudden, I'm self-employed, running my own business, got to market, got to sell, got to be able to learn how to take photographs that people will actually pay for. And some people have said it was a very brave decision. I always say there are other adjectives that are available. But it worked. I started off just doing schools photography, and then after a few months I thought, right, okay, what else can I do? So I started doing school proms. Then I started doing what I call adult proms, which is black tie balls. Things like that, and then I started getting into the corporate market. People wanted photographs for websites, then into events as well, and events is the biggest part of my business now. So for example, the launch of Solihull Radio the other week, and I was there doing that, and during the week of comic relief, I got a phone call from an agency. They wanted me to take photographs of 12 drag queens performing in the Bullring Centre. And I thought to myself, well, this is different, it's certainly a lot more interesting than being an accountant. And I think if I'd stayed as an accountant, I'd have been richer, certainly, but I'd have been counting down the days and to the retirement. Whereas now, I could have retired 3 years ago, and I've got no intentions of doing so because I'm enjoying it so much, and people are still paying me to take photographs. To
do something that you enjoy.
To do something I enjoy. And somebody said, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work another day in your life. And they're right.
And I think that's, we've had this conversation before. I think is that if you are passionate about what you do, you really enjoy it. When you walk in the door, it shines out of you.
Yeah.
And people see it. And I think the clients, your customers, all our customers, clients, whatever you want to call them. That can set you apart sometimes.
Yeah.
Really can.
Yeah, and yes, so that's how I got into it. That's how it's developed, and
I'm going to carry on doing it as long as I'm physically capable. I mean, carrying a bag around like that full of gear is a bit of a challenge sometimes. But yes, I'll carry on doing it and setting up studios wherever they're needed to do whatever we want photographing. And it takes me down all sorts of paths. Somebody said, "What's the strangest job you've ever done?" And the strangest job was when somebody wanted photos for a personal injury claim. And it was Slater and Gordon who advertised on Signal. They got this client, and they told him, get a photographer to do a photograph of your injury. So he phoned me up, and I'd done something for another law firm. And I said, there's all sorts of rules about what you have to do and sign and say I haven't enhanced it. And Slater and Gordon people said, oh, no, don't worry about that. Just do the photos and send them in. So I met this man who was a contractor working at the Jaguar factory in Castle Bromwich. And I said, right, I can come and see you on so-and-so day. And I said, where do I get, who do I ask for when I get to the factory? He said, getting into the factory, he said, it's a nightmare. He said, we'll never get in. He said, we've got a contractor's car park. He said, we'll meet in the contractor's car park. So I actually got into a car park, did a recce with this man, and I went to this man's car. He rolled his trouser leg up, and I took a photograph of his knee. And that's the strangest job I've ever done. Photographing men's knees in car parks.
There you go. But we're very grateful to have you take photographs for us. So thank you very much indeed. If you're wondering why I sometimes get my mobile phone out, which is exceptionally rude, it's the only clock I've got. So I'm sensitive to time. Tom, you're the last man on the block, and again, I didn't get the newspaper out because I thought, I'd start reading it. Actually, it's because of Tom, because it's interesting that what you do affects everything and everybody.
Yeah.
It's on the front page of the Times, the Financial Times. It says Sterling plunges to 2-year low on mounting risk of a no-deal Brexit. So, how did you get into currencies, and what is it you do?
Well, so I'm Tom Farrington, and the company I work for is P3K, so we're essentially independent foreign exchange brokers, which in a nutshell means we work with companies who are changing currency on a regular basis, so your importers, exporters, importing food, machinery and the like from abroad. So we're looking at moving them away from the banks, essentially, who are the go-to people for any FX requirements, any foreign exchange requirements, and moving them to an independent provider who will solely handle their foreign exchange needs. That's all they do, they live and breathe it. Constantly checking the markets and advising on changes like the pound plummeting, which unfortunately is just going down and down and down with Brexit looming, which has had a huge effect on our business. And with any kind of decision coming in, it's expected it's seriously going to bomb. No one can say for sure, and I certainly wouldn't want to advise on that. That's not my job. We have a strategist for that. But that's essentially it. We're trying to give people the advice that they need, someone that they can talk to on a regular basis, someone who can save them money wherever possible on any foreign exchange.
How can you save the money?
Saving money, the main way is cutting down on commission. Like I say, most people go to the banks, that's the go-to. The banks charge people through the nose, it's a simple way of it. We can still make our margin, still pay all of our staff by cutting that rate in half. That's what we aim for. Go through a quote, look at what they're getting charged and just say, right, slice that rate in half on the commission charged.
Is there a type of client that is going to be better suited to your services? I mean, can you deal with all businesses?
Absolutely. So
business?
We can deal with a really broad range of businesses, but there's certainly clients that are better suited. If we introduce a client to an independent provider, like I say, that provider lives and breathes FX, and they like to advise, they like to create strategy for that client on when and how to trade in order to get the most for their money. Now, some clients can be a bit more flexible. For example, one client I've been speaking to today is an international debt collector. They have accounts in a few different countries, so they'll stack up their euro account until the point where they think, let's exchange this back into pounds. With them, we can advise on when the pound's going to be stronger, when the pound's going to be weaker, when are they going to get the most for their money, the most bang for their buck. However, another client of ours is a banana importer with a really strict cash flow, so constantly import bananas every single week. We can't advise on them. They pay on a weekly basis. Every Monday they pay, every Thursday they pay. That's the way it is. That's the way they're stuck into it. They're not interested in advice, in strategy. Both clients are great, and we can help them both on commission. However, we can't advise a banana importer who has to trade every day on the set days when and how to trade. They just get the rates there and then with the cut commission. Whereas another client, like the debt collector, who doesn't strictly need the money coming in straight away, we can give them a bit of advice on how they're going to change. And when they're trading regularly throughout the year, those little changes, doing it say, don't trade this Wednesday, trade next Wednesday. We think the pound's going to be a bit stronger. Little changes like that, it all adds up when they're doing decent amounts of money on a regular basis. It all adds up. And these savings can be, a few grand a year just for what day they're trading on.
2 questions. How do you develop your business? How does it grow? How do you find your clients?
So, a few people have said it today about people buying people, and that's very much what I'm going about. We're a fairly new company, and I'm fairly fresh into it, 18 months into this work. So, I'm learning as I'm going along, and we're always learning. But from what I'm finding, face-to-face work seems to be better suited to me, personally. I don't enjoy phone calls, and I don't enjoy emailing somebody that I've never met if I can help it. If I can get a face-to-face introduction to somebody, I tend to be able to work on that a lot better. I think a lot of that, and it goes for so much different work, is down to the trust element there. If I'm asking the FD of an international company to put a few £1 million a year through a company I'm going to introduce them to, well, I can't just phone them up and ask them to do that. They have no idea who I am. I have no credibility in their eyes, etc. It's about building that rapport, building that relationship and getting to know them. So it's very much networking based. And events like this are a brilliant way to get to know people.
Where are you based?
Around Birmingham. So we've got offices in Albrighton, which is Telford Way.
Okay.
But to be honest, admin side of it, it's mostly done on the laptop and on the phone while I'm out and about. So I mainly operate around Birmingham. I've got a colleague who focuses more on the Black Country and the manufacturers around there.
And there was one more question I wanted to ask you. What do you like most about what you do?
Talking to people. When I came into it, I almost fell into foreign exchange, and I never thought when I was a kid, I want to be a foreign exchange broker. I don't think anyone does. I didn't even know that was a job. But it's getting out, it's talking to people, and it's the learning. As I say, the intelligence forums are brilliant in the sense of networking and getting to know people. It's also just absorbing everybody else's knowledge. I think everybody else in this room is a lot more experienced in what they do, and to hear how fluently you talk about it and how much you know about what you do, it's nice to feed off that, nice to feed off the other guy's experience, you know what I mean? Sort of take it in and learn a little bit about every business. At the end of the day, I can be working with so many different businesses. I want to have some grasp of what everybody does if I can, get him around, Insurance, I had very little idea of what an insurance broker would do when I first came into networking, getting out there and sitting down with a few guys who do the same sort of things that you do, Martin, has been just eye-opening for me. I've had no real experience of that. With the car insurance, it's just feeding into different people's knowledge. All helps me to have a more intelligent, in-depth conversation with potential clients in the future. But also just personally, it's very interesting. It's an opportunity to learn. Learning doesn't stop when you leave school, as they say, and it's. I found it did when I left school. I went into being a chef, and the learning was just very focused. It was, we're in the kitchen, back of house with the same few people, same 4 balls every day. And more you're developing your skill with food, that's brilliant. It got a bit dull after a while. I thought, I want to learn more about the world, more about the community, and I think this job's given me that opportunity to get out there and network and develop as a person much faster than I would being stuck in the kitchen every day.
Do you find yourself going off to sort of, bearing in mind the NEC's just down the road and they have some huge events when it comes to machinery and all sorts of international things? Will you find yourself going to those sort of events to
sort of expos and the like, if you like? Yeah, I do go along to quite a few expos. I haven't been to one for a while. I find it's, with the huge footfall at events like that, it's quite hard to get any meaningful point of contact with anybody. I prefer to go to an event and come along to it regularly. When you're seeing the same people, you're getting to know them, you go out for a beer afterwards, coffee, whatever, and you start to actually build a friendship essentially rather than an event. Some expos I'll meet somebody dead set want to work with me. It's quite weird sometimes, within a small conversation. Oh, we need someone who does foreign exchange. Let's sit down, have a coffee, and then it kind of tails off because there's no basis for the relationship, if that makes sense. I think somewhere where you're regularly seeing these people. Right now, I've got a few clients that I'm handling, and most of them I see at least once a month at some networking event when I'm out and about because they're all networking themselves. And it's an opportunity just to sit down for 5 minutes, have a coffee, see how everything's going with them.
Perseverance is a really key thing.
Yeah, I think it's a real long game. Yeah.
And continuity and all the things.
Continuity.
Yes.
Perseverance. Yeah. Well, look, I want to close there because I'm sensitive to people's times. Can I thank you, Rob, very much indeed, really. And thank you very much indeed for photographs and podcasts and all of you for coming. And I'm now closing the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Rob.
You're listening to Solihull Radio.